So, hello everyone. Today we will be starting with Introduction to Cypress, and in this first class of Cypress, we will be seeing more details about Cypress before we start. So, in this lecture, we will be covering what is Cypress, what makes Cypress a unique tool, and disadvantages of Cypress, its architecture, its features, and how to organize our framework and configurations in Cypress, and we will see more details on Test Runner. So let's get started with what is Cypress. So Cypress itself is a automation tool that is helping us to automate any browser application. So this tool is a basically end-to-end testing tool. At the same time, while it's helping us to automate the browser, it is also giving us an opportunity to easily automate the API. So basically, normally we used to need some extra libraries to automate different parts of the application, but Cypress is actually giving us an opportunity to test these applications in a single tool. So it says in here, it is a next generation front-end testing tool constructed for the modern web. So the reason that it's saying the modern web is basically the Cypress itself as a tool is one of the recent tools, and especially last 2 years it started to become so popular in the market. So this tool addresses the critical pain points developers and QA engineers use to face when testing modern applications. For example, synchronization issues and the inconsistency of test due to elements not visible or available. So if I give you an example from the different testing tools like Selenium or maybe Protractor and maybe WebDriver IO, this tools has always some kind of synchronization issue. What I mean by that, so when you are coding your scripts to automate some stuff on your application, your code is always faster than the browser, and it's causing some synchronization issue at the same time while you are writing your application, while you are writing your automation. So that's why we have to handle this with the different ways in those testing tools. And basically, the Cypress is handling it for you, so you don't need to keep using inconsistent weights again and again. So the other thing, it is built on Node.js and comes packaged as an npm module. As it's based on Node.js, it's used JavaScript for writing tests. But 90% of coding can be done using Cypress inbuilt commands, which are easy to understand. So basically, Cypress is an application that is created based on Node.js. And one of the disadvantages I can tell about the Cypress is the only language it's working with is the JavaScript. So most of the testing tools on the market right now, they can work with Java, they can work with JavaScript, Python, C Sharp, like different many languages. But Cypress is only can be worked with the JavaScript. So the third bulletin here, it's also bundles with jQuery, which is the JavaScript, another JavaScript library, and it inherits many jQuery methods for UI components identification and simplifies HTML DOM, tree traversal and manipulation, as well as event handling, CSS animation, and Ajax. So the good thing about this is actually Cypress is internally bundled with some jQuery libraries. This is some kind of front-end web application library that is used to be very popular a few years ago, and it's still actually popular. But it is also bundled with this library to make our testing easier. And not also this one that we will see in the future, that is also bundled with some Mocha, which is some kind of like unit test libraries for the JavaScript and also for Chai. So let's see what we have next. So this is very important actually, the understanding as a tech global why we are teaching Cypress. So let's try to go on this, but these old bullets that I have put in here, basically some kind of summarizing that what makes a Cypress unique tool, but it's actually more than that. But these are, I can tell, the most important ones that why we are teaching Cypress. So speed and reliability. It delivers fast, consistent, and reliable test execution compared to other automation tools because of its architectural design. Cypress runs tests in the browser and provides instant feedback, making it faster than other testing tools. So we will discuss it in the future this a lot, but basically, as it mentions in the bullet, Cypress is running directly inside the browser. So the browser itself is the one that running your scripts that you write on your automation framework. That's why it solves the most of this synchronization issue. And while it's just solving the synchronization issue, it's making your code really fast. So flake resistant. Cypress automatically waits for commands to assertions before moving on. No more synchronization issue. This is what we told basically. So debuggability, it takes snapshots as your test run. We can hover over each command in the command log to accurately see what happened at each step. So this is a really good feature on the Cypress that we will see with the test runner, but basically our script that we write in our automation framework will be reflected on the uh, Cypress test runner. So through this test runner, we can basically see this each step. That's what's going on with these steps and how this each step is reflecting on the automation. And from that one, we can just debug our code when we have any problem. Dashboard, view videos of execution of your entire test when running from the Cypress dashboard. So that Cypress dashboard is some kind of feature that we will see in our later classes, but basically it's some kind of cloud tool that is allowing us to see and get more details for the Cypress. So most of the companies that are working with the Cypress in the enterprise level, they are buying this feature because for the enterprise, this feature is some kind of paid feature. So it is giving much more details for the testers and for the company. As it says, it's open source. It's a free tool, so anyone can just go to website, Cypress website, can download, set up, and start automation testing. And community support. It wasn't used to be a lot before, but since the Cypress automation tools start to get really popular, right now the community about the Cypress that when you need something or when you have a problem is a lot. It's huge on the internet. So any question that or any problem that you are having during your writing your automation scripts with Cypress, most probably from the community you will find a solution for these issues. And which is really great by the way. This is one of the best things about Cypress I can tell. So of course there are disadvantages of Cypress too, but one of them, as we told before, is language. So it is only works with the JavaScript. So you will not be able to write any Cypress test using a Java, C Sharp or Python. It works only with JavaScript. I don't know if they plan to do some kind of support in the future, but it doesn't. So second bullet, no multi-tab support, which is basically means that like when you click on the Chrome, let's say the opening a new tab, it won't directly interact with this tab. There are some workarounds that we will cover in the future, and we are going to deep dive about the second bullet a lot. But for now, you just need to understand that Cypress doesn't have a direct support for the browsers. For actually, I'm sorry, like for the multiple tabs. For browser support, Cypress mostly supports so much browsers. I mean, like too many browsers already. But it's not supporting the Safari, and some companies may require you to do tests using the Safari browser for the consistent user experience. So there's no way to do that with the Cypress, and I'm not sure maybe they will support it in the future or not. But for now, what we know is basically it does not have any support for the Safari browser. So some of the Cypress features are not directly supported inside the tool, and that's why it requires you to use some third-party libraries to support these features. And there are a lot of tools for that, so you don't need to worry. But the problem about this one, the using so much library, making a little bit the maintenance harder. So that's why you might need to make sure that your all of your libraries that you use while you are using Cypress is consistent and well defined. Complexity: Cypress can only use Node.js, which is pretty much knowledge demanding, but we also need to know about promises, jQuery, asynchronous, JavaScript, and other advanced JavaScript methodologies. At the same time, some concepts like promises require more knowledge of JavaScript, and asynchronous nature of JavaScript makes complex Cypress complex to use. So basically, this bullet uh, is pretty much for people who wants to jump into Cypress without understanding JavaScript. Because yes, can you still do the automation and the Cypress without knowing the JavaScript? Of course, you should have some kind of programming language experience. But let's say you used to be some kind of like Java developer, Java programmer, and you used to use like Selenium or maybe different tools. Yes, you can still code on the Cypress. It's pretty much straightforward and easy to understand. But the thing is, to be able to do some advanced stuff in Cypress, to create some kind of advanced framework for a company that you will work for in the future, you should have a understanding on the both JavaScript and the Node.js, because this understanding is going to make your framework much more better and make your understanding much more better too. Because the quality of your framework, the speed of your framework, or the quality of your tests will depend on the quality of your knowledge. So how much JavaScript that you know, it is going to improve your understanding on the Cypress, and also it's going to make your framework much more better, which is actually a huge plus in my opinion. So Cypress architecture, as we discussed before in browser execution, this is the one of the best architecture and best thing about the Cypress. But as it says in here, unlike traditional tools, Cypress Engine directly operates inside the browser. So you can imagine that Cypress Engine directly is a compiler of your scripts. So in other words, it is browser that executing your test code. Exactly. This enables Cypress to listen and modify the browser behavior at runtime by manipulating DOM and altering network requests and responses at runtime. This means that Cypress can interact with the application at much deeper level than other testing frameworks. So as it's mentioned in here, Cypress engine that is directly the one that running your code in the browser. And that's why this is making it much more faster. The second one, the direct native access. Cypress tests directly interact with the elements and features in your application. Since it's running in the browser, that's why it can easily run and the inside of your since it's running inside your browser, that's why interacting with the elements is much more easier for the Cypress. So just like accessing parts of a machine without any barriers, this means faster and more direct testing without technical complications. Cypress ultimately controls the entire automation process from top to bottom, which puts in the unique position of being able to understand everything happening in and outside of the browser. This means Cypress can deliver more consistent results than any other testing tools. Since we didn't have a chance to see any other testing tool other than Cypress, these advantages and these things might look something maybe not too much, but these are really important things, especially for someone who used to do automation using those like old tools, like like some kind of legacy tools we can say. For example, as I say, like Selenium, I will just keep giving more examples from Selenium because that is what the market is evolving right now, from Selenium to Cypress, and for many other tools. So, key Cypress features. These are not only four of them, there are more, but these are the most main ones. But basically, ultimate control over the application, as we said again, since the application and our tests are running over the browser, we have always ultimate control over the application. And since it's always has its some kind of engine and the behind the code as a system to wait for requests to complete, It is never going to, I mean, you will never going to have some kind of flaky tests. Even though you have, it's at some point, Cypress has a great debugging feature that you can solve and understand the problem. Time traveling debugger, we already talked about that, and we will see more examples about what do we mean about this like time traveling debugger. So consensus result, yes. So as we compared in here also, Cypress architecture doesn't use Selenium or WebDriver. So basically we don't need to create some kind of driver to instantiate our browser and etc. These were the things that we used to do with the Selenium, but with Cypress it's much more easier and faster. And also the screenshots and videos, we used to use some kind of extra libraries or some kind of extra scripts to provide this. A special screenshot video was even actually kind of dream, to be honest. But taking a screenshot of the failure was too much code and scripting. But with just the one line of command, Cypress is providing you this very easily. So right now let's talk about organizing our tests in Cypress, because this is important in the company. Most probably the company that you will work for in the future is going to support, I mean not support, but is going to follow this structure to create their framework. And this structure is some kind of universal that most of the companies or most of the frameworks are the Cypress frameworks are following. That's why it is important to understand, because to having some kind of organized folder structure, you will know where to look for. But let's start from the end-to-end folder, which is just like in here. So this end-to-end folder, it used to be an integration folder before. So when you get hired in the future, you might find out that this folder name is integration folder. Don't be surprised, this is some kind of legacy name of this folder before version 10 in the Cypress. But right now it's considered as end-to-end folder, and most probably most of the companies are like migrating this to this name. But this is basically where we store our all tests. So we add all of our tests, all type of our tests inside this folder. Then our second folder is the fixtures folder. So basically this folder is where we store our external test data. Okay. So but when we talk about the external test data, what I mean by that we are providing our some kind of test data that we use in our tests. For example, providing a username and password, maybe some URL, maybe that more information that we read while entering some information, like maybe your address and etc. All this information that we are holding inside the fixture, and this data is stored in the JSON format inside of that, and implicitly Cypress know where to look when you are going to deal with these features. But this fixtures folder, that what we will do with that is some kind of advanced topic that we will cover in the future. But for now, we just need to understand that this is where we hold our test data. Then support folder. So this folder is important. For now, maybe it's not going to make sense too much, but in the future we will deep dive inside the files inside this folder and what we will do with that. But these folders are coming by default when we are setting up our framework using Cypress. But basically, this command.js is a JavaScript file that we will store all our custom methods, functions, and commands for our Cypress framework. And these two files inside the support folder implicitly, if you don't define another folder, but implicitly runs before your tests. Okay, every time these two files inside this support folder runs before your all tests. Well, that's why this is where we provide our methods and functions inside this command.js. So this end-to-end test files, again, it's the same thing. It's always runs before our tests. That's why imagine that we will import some like libraries, maybe we'll import some page object model and etc. Since it will be some kind of extension to our each test file, we can define our all imports, or maybe before and abstractions that we will learn in the future. But for now, that is important that command.js, we will store our methods and functions, and Cypress has some kind of unique way to create their functions that we will see. So this is where we store them, and for end to end, we will put some our common stuff that we want to make sure that it's always running before our tests. So we have a different kind of folder that is called assets folder. So from this picture you will only see end-to-end fixtures and support folder. I'm not going to talk about node modules. This is where we hold our dependencies. But basically, looking at this picture, you will see few more files, few more folders, which is plus what we have on the top: a screenshot, support, videos, and also downloads. So we call them an assets folder. There is no type of, or like there is no folder named with the assets in the Cypress. But basically, several folders are considered our assets folder, and these folders are basically created implicitly by Cypress while we are testing. So we don't even need to create them. So during your automation script, if you have any step that you need to download a file, when your framework downloads anything, it's going to implicitly create this download folder, and it will put your downloaded file inside of this folder. So with this way you will be able to validate. And for the screenshots, it's same. When we are doing reporting or when we want to get the screenshot of the failure, by activating this, Cypress is going to implicitly create this folder and put our screenshots inside, and it is the same thing for the videos. And mostly we put this assets folder inside the git ignore. What I mean by that, when we are putting this folders inside our version control system, we just want to make sure that they are not there. That's why we are just putting them inside our git ignore. As I say again, this assets, there is no folder name assets, but this downloads, screenshots, videos, these folders are considered as assets folder, okay? And configuration in Cypress. So if you go to your framework, you will see there's a file called in here cypress config.js. But basically this file is helping us to do some configurations. We are going to deep dive inside this file, but basically this is where we will set the direction of our folders or tests. For example, I said this is the end-to-end tests where we run all our tests, right? You can change this place to from here. Let's say the resolution of your browser, you can change in here. Like if I show you some example by saying viewport height, it's going to provide us like how much viewport or resolution that we run to our tests. Or again, if I give anything else, for example viewport width, and we can define how much width we want to run our resolution. But for now we don't need this, that's why I'm just going to revert. But we will going to deep dive inside this option in much more details. And yeah, and we have a Cypress test runner. So this is important to understand, but this Cypress test runner is actually one of the most unique features of the Cypress. Basically, you can open this test runner by running the npx cypress open command from the terminal. So I assume that you guys have a terminal open on your IDE. By running this npx cypress command and npx cypress open command, is going to initialize and instantiate the Cypress test runner. So it's going to introduce you with this screen. So it's asking you, would you like to run end-to-end tests or component tests? Our priority is going with the end-to-end tests, so you can just click on this one. And mostly during our automation classes, we will be using Chrome browser. So Electron is a different kind of browser, and we have Firefox. Depending what you have in your computer, by the way, if you have, let's say, different types of browser, you will see all of them in here. But as you can see, there is no Safari support in here. That's why you don't see Safari in here. And why we will be using the Chrome, most of the companies, like I can tell 90-95% of the companies are making sure that their applications are reliable and working fine using Chrome, not other applications. That's why your priority is always going to be the Chrome. So from here you will see an option that is called Start E2E, which means end-to-end testing in Chrome. You can click on this one and you can click on the Cypress test in Chrome. And Cypress Runner will be instantiating on your browser directly. As you can see, this is your browser. Okay. So since you select Chrome, it will be doing. It's going to do this using the Chrome browser. So looking at in here is your test runner. So if you guys remember that, since we use scaffold examples, Cypress has already provided us some tests in here to give us some examples. But you will see some options in here. Your runs, we will come to this one in details. But debugging and to do more debugging and settings. So if you guys remember that on our framework, we see the cypress.config.js. There are already actually some kinda built-in commands that are default already set it up on the Cypress, but we just don't see in here. But clicking on this project settings and going below, it's going to take you to cypress.config.js, and all of these default options are defined in here. So you just don't see your inside your configuration. But for example, if we say viewport height and width is already by default 1660. So if you don't define anything in here explicitly, it's going to run your tests against these resolutions. So this test runner is allowing us to run in man tests, but if you look at the details in here, you will see this one is the test status menu. So from here we will see from how many tests that we have a success and how many tests we have failure. From the URL preview is going to basically provide and show you your URL. This viewport sizing, this was what we were talking about. Depending on what we set, it will show that viewport value in here. In the command log, basically this is going to be the step by step, and this is how we do the debugging from the time traveling debugging that we were talking about, and at the same time it will be showing you application preview. But if you go back to our test runner and if you go to our specs, so this specs navigation bar is going to show you all the test files that you have. We can just close this one and let's click on this to do. So whenever I click on to do, Cypress is going to run this pre-built in test scripts that it's provided us to help us, which is inside of this one, going to run this script for us. Okay, so just for demonstration, let's walk through and see how it looks like. So I will be clicking on the to do, and as you can see, it's pretty much fast. Like all these scripts in here, it just ran everything in 3 seconds. And inside this test, looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we have around 6 test cases, and as you can see, it's defined in here. The first test case is checking displays 2 to do items by default. So if you remember that I was telling you the time traveling debugger. So basically, whatever it have done, you can just mouse over the commands that is every step during your test and see what happened in each step. It visits this website, it gets this to-do list, it does the validation. It's just going one by one. So by just hovering over this each command, you can basically understand what's going on, and if you have any problem from running this mouse over on these commands will make you understand. Let me check if we have some kind of detailed test in here. But as you can see, these are different actions. I will try to go through like what we have. But basically this each check mark as defines the each test case. So we count 6 and there's a 6 in here. But we are going to have some kind of more detailed test cases in the future. So we will deep dive into this one. So this is what we see was Cypress Test Runner. We will go into more details. We will see many different things using the Cypress Test Runner. But basically, this Cypress Test Runner is giving us some kind of live session that whatever we are doing. So you will write your code on your framework, but you will follow what's going on using this Cypress Test Runner. This is an amazing feature of Cypress, and this is one of the reasons that making the Cypress very popular. And while we were talking about the advantages of the Cypress, it was telling us that it's running directly the browser. So basically, this browser, this Cypress runner, is executing these scripts from here, from the with using the Cypress engine, and that's why it's making the Cypress tool really fast. So today, in this session, we have covered the introduction of Cypress. On our next session, we will go and we will start writing our own test automation scripts, and we will be going in more deeper and more complex test structures. So thank you very much.